Okay, so welcome, Martin. We're going to follow up on pie charts and shared totals. Okay, so um, lo más importante de esta parte de these graphs, voy a mezclar español e inglés, ¿eh? The most important part is actually to 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 spot the title, the sample size, and this is called the legend. So when you start presenting these type of graphs, people often make the mistake of going directly to, oh, 42 Caucasians, no? But they have to give context. And the context is given by first the title and then the sample size. People always forget that sample size, right? So I'm going to do this exercise. Hola, Carlo. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to do this exercise, and then you are going to help me do the following exercise of the next slide, which is the same. So these are the 3 steps. Step number 1, understand the total looking at the title and sample size. I'm going to talk about this. Look at the legend or key to figure out categories. So this is the part. And then identify the distribution of the percentages. Evenly distributed, or is it more like monopolized by some element, some item? Ok, entonces estos son los paso a paso cómo explicar esta gráfica. Paso número 1 voy a decir el título. Student mix. This is the student mix of school in Boston, Massachusetts. This sample is about 1,000 subjects. And it's splitted quiere decir repartido, by race. ¿Ok? Entonces, esto es student mix by race. Entonces, las oraciones decantan un poco así. Dicen, 42% of the 1,000 students are Caucasian in Boston. So, algo así. O también un aceptable puede ser out of 1,000 students, 50% of are Hispanic in Boston. Entonces, así es como se forman las oraciones. Primero el número, después de ese número de dónde viene o de qué muestra. No es lo mismo un 42% de 100 o de 20 que de 1000. Entonces, 42% de 1000, 42% out of 1,000 students are Caucasian in Boston. Por ejemplo, aquí no puse la palabra students a propósito, porque si es de una escuela, pues uno ya hay que decir, bueno, estos seguramente son estudiantes, ¿no? O subjects. Así luego pintan las gráficas con que les falta información, les falta la leyenda, pero para esta clase vamos a ir utilizando la información que sí tenemos para contar un highlight. So remember that in each graph, we are going to do a comment that is going to be a highlight of the graph, okay? So Carlo, could you give us a read of the box in orange to see what it
Okay.
says? Mhm.
The majority of the students are Caucasian.
Caucasian. Como,
Caucasian.
ajá, exacto.
Okay. Filipino,
Ujú,
Chinese,
ujú.
and Hindus are the less represented.
Okay.
There
Entonces,
are more.
ujú.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish up, please. Go.
Okay.
Mhm.
There are more Hispanic than Vietnamese.
Mhm.
The number of Vietnamese is double the number of Filipino.
Yes.
Filipino.
Entonces, this is one example of grammar used in this type of situation. So in red, these are the words that usually are used for this type of graph. For example, the majority, okay, or the least represented. Least, Carlo, es el superlativo, the superlative of less,
Mhm.
ok.
Oh,
Entonces,
okay.
tú puedes decir, this is less than this, or are more of this than this. So, para hay más que o hay menos que, se usa more than and less than. Y en superlativos, most is superlative of more and least is superlative of less. ¿Ok? Entonces,
Okay.
least represented es los menos representados. ¿Va? ¿Ok?
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
And this is one example of the comparative. There are more Hispanic than Vietnamese. ¿Ok? Entonces, cuando tienes una leyenda así, ese tipo de comentarios son útiles porque if you have 15% Hispanic and 3% Chinese, you could say there are 5 times more Hispanic than Chinese, 5 times more than. Okay, so more y than, more than and less than son las palabras que les van a ayudar a siempre explicar de manera segura estos gráficos, ¿no? Mayoría y minoría. Okay. Also, you could talk about percentage points. ¿Estos los conocen? Percentage points. ¿Los han usado en gráficas?
Yeah.
Okay, you could say Vietnamese are more than Filipino by 3 percentage points. Or Indian are more than Filipino by 6 percentage points.
Mhm.
Okay. Entonces, eso también ayuda, dependiendo cómo sea su estilo de explicar. Okay, so now I'm going to do a brief exercise. I'm going to do an example. And this exercise is with your words, like use your words as you use in Spanish, but in English. And then Martin, you use the way that you will explain this graph normally. My way is like out of 100 kids, 20% request Candyland. See what I did there? So these are the Caravan Cafe, which is like a game center, most requested games in 2023, United States. So out of 100 kids, 23% request, which is in blue in purple, Candyland. So I'll go about it to follow up that way. Okay, so Carlo, what could you tell me about Monopoly?
Monopoly,
Mm-hmm.
21%.
Mm-hmm. About
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
Uh, Monopoly is the uh, two 2% point percent PPs
Mm-hmm.
uh, less than Candyland.
Okay, okay,
Uh,
that's a good one.
Candyland, Candyland and Monopoly are the major uh, games in Caribbean cafe.
Okay, perfect. Okay, but in this exercise also you have to mention what is the sample size and just pick one. Like for example, I'll do another one. For example, Uno. Out of 100 kids, 4% request Uno. You have to you have to include the title, you have to include the sample, and you have
Mhm.
to include the percentage. Okay, so Carlo, try again, but with poker. What could you tell me about poker?
Uh, okay, in
Mm-hmm,
Caribbean cafe,
mm-hmm,
the 7%
mm-hmm.
kids uh, games poker.
Okay, okay. Remember, you it's better to include the word requested because this is the verb used in the title, and also
Requested.
and also also remember to mention the sample size at some point. All right. Okay, I'm gonna get back to you, Carlo, but Martin, um give us an example for chess. What could you tell me about chess?
Okay, about chess,
Mm-hmm.
we see in the universe of 100 kids,
Mm-hmm.
um, 15% request chess, and chess is in the fourth place
Mm-hmm.
in the representation of all this universe.
Okay, perfect. Nice follow-up. Very good. The fourth place of the requested games. Así, simplifica, usen mucho el verbo que está arriba. El verbo que está
Request.
arriba les va a ayudar repítanlo todo el tiempo y les va a ayudar a concretar sus ideas para las comparaciones siguientes. Por ejemplo, si yo digo, out of 100 kids, 7% request poker, and then poker is one of the least requested games. ¿Ves cómo usé requested otra vez? Entonces, the verb up here, very important. Entonces, esta es la función del título. El título no solamente es dar context, sino introducir el verbo, ¿vale?
Mm,
Request es como requerido, solicitado. Ok,
okay.
Carlo, give us one for Candyland. What could you say about Candyland?
Okay. In 100 kids requested. Sorry.
Mhm,
The 20 23%
mhm.
of kids request in the sample requested uh, Candyland.
Ok, perfect. Ahora, Carlo, ¿cómo lo dirías en español? Quiero ver cómo ordenas tú el 20% y el 100%.
Ok.
Ujú,
eh, la siguiente muestra
ujú,
eh, es de 100 niños.
ujú,
El 23% de aquellos niños
ujú,
solicita o
ujú,
requiere o prefiere
ujú.
jugar Candyland, ¿no?
Ok,
En,
perfecto.
en el lugar. Ujú.
Perfect. That is your preferred way of ordering words. Entonces, esa es tu forma preferida de ordenar las palabras, ¿vale? Lo chistoso es que ha funcionado mejor utilizar exactamente el mismo orden que tú usarías para español, pero utilizarlo para el inglés y es válido. Por ejemplo, tú empezaste diciendo un universo de 100 niños, entonces en inglés también empieza por ahí. There's a universe or sample size, o la palabra que tú quieras usar. There's a universe of 100 kids, 23% have requested Candyland. Y ese sería el orden. So give us a try in English about Candyland again to see how it sounds.
Okay.
Mhm,
And the sample size
mhm,
um, 100 kids,
mhm,
the 23%
mhm.
requested Candyland.
Perfect. Súper. Ya quedó. ¿Ya vieron? Entonces,
Ujú.
el tip aquí es como ustedes acomoden las palabras. Por ejemplo, yo las acomodo aquí. 23% de 100 niños prefieren Candy o requieren Candyland. Pongo primero el porcentaje, es mi estilo. Entonces, cuando yo lo paso al inglés, 23% out of 100 kids have requested Candyland. Rápido, ¿no? Esto es para sacar highlights. Entonces, um, what what do you think is the most relevant information in this chart, Martin? What if you have to pick one or two cases, which one would you talk about? Or
Mm,
or in overall?
Monopoly
Mm-hmm.
Monopoly represents the most request game
Mm-hmm.
in the survey, and Uno represent the least game.
Okay, okay. So you saying that Monopoly is important to notice, and also Candyland, right? With 23%
Okay.
maybe. And Uno is the least. So Martín le interesa most and least. Carlo, what what could you say? Um, what is the most important information for you in this graph? One or two things.
Ah, que sería lo mismo.
Ah, lo mismo. Okay.
The more uh, the more than requested
Ajá,
is Candelan,
ajá,
and
exactly.
less than requested is Un.
Okay. Miren esto. Yo esperaba que Monopoly tuviera mucho más porcentaje.
Mm,
Yo esperaba que Monopoly fuera número uno. Entonces también es interesante meter tus propias ideas, ¿no? So, I think that Monopoly should have been number one, but surprisingly, Candyland made it to the top. Made it to the top. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna move on. This one I'm going to do more English than Spanish. So I'm gonna give it a try and let's see where. Okay, so line graphs usually show the trend, but also the highs and lows of one subject across time. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Like in this graph here could be the dollar against the, I don't know, Mexican peso. So that is one item, and this is the time by the level it's at. So is the how expensive it is, about how much time has been for, but one element only. In the previous graph, we used several elements. So here we have Monopoly, Candyland, Jenga, etc. But here we only will have one or two. We only have one or two items to display. Okay. So the important part here is I'm going to introduce new words. These are behavior verbs. ¿A ti te suena behavior, Carlo? ¿Qué es?
behavior, mm, behavior design. He escuchado acerca de ese término.
Mm, Behavior design. Ok,
Ujú.
behavior no se parece al español. Behavior es comportamiento. Ok,
Ajá, comportamiento.
okay. So behavior verbs are the verbs that are going to be useful for describing if something is going up or down. Okay, and the other component is speed adjectives. Okay, goes up and down, but it's not the same to have it like slowly up or rapidly up. So this part of up is different than this part of up. Okay, so there's slower and faster behaviors. Okay, that's why we're
Behavior.
using this. And also, we're going to introduce like we're going to introduce the final stages of a curve. For example, when a curve comes, tilts, gets to a higher point, the highest point is called peak. Peak means pico. Peak like
Okay.
in a mountain, like in a mountain. So peak. And the lowest point of a curve is called valley, valle. So peaks and valleys. Okay. These are the most used in this type of descriptions. Okay, so I'm going to explain this first. The behavior verbs we have, people usually stick to one. the most comfortable. The one I like the most is go up and go down because it's very safe. I could use go up and go down and everybody will understand. Increase and decrease is for people that are more analytic, and rise and fall are also good options to use. Okay. So for example, these parts you only describe if it's going up or if it's going down. But if you want to make a better description, you should include one of these adjectives below. For example, rapidly and slowly are the ones that I like because are the really safe. And you could say it increased rapidly or go up rapidly. Everybody could understand. Huh? But there are other options if you want to use them in your style. For example, suddenly and gradually. Suddenly means, sorry, suddenly means that de repente o repentinamente, ¿no? Gradually means uh, with a gradualmente, same Spanish. Sharply and smoothly. Sharply, I haven't found a word that I like in Spanish for sharply, but it's the opposite of smoothly, and smoothly is suave, suavemente, ¿no? Okay, so the trick here is that you could use any combination of this with any combination of this. So if you multiply all these options, you have like 144 combinations. Okay? Remember that if you're going to use one of these and add it with one of these, you have to do it in the past tense just because you're explaining uh, things that already happened. Entonces, vas a usar el tiempo pasado porque son cosas que ya sucedieron. Estás narrando un histórico, ¿ok? In the line graphs. Because this is the type of graphs that describe past events, all right? Hay otros line graphs que van a ser usados para el forecasting o ¿cómo decirlo? El
Estimación,
pronóstico. El
pronóstico.
pronóstico, ajá. Y para el pronóstico se usa present o future, está bien. Pero para esto se va a usar en past tense. Por ejemplo, Carlo, give us a read of the options here. What options do we see?
Suddenly,
Ujú,
plus
ajá, increased.
increased.
Ajá, exacto. Bien, good. What else?
Okay, went up,
Ajá,
plus sharply,
ajá, sharply. Good. And how do you pronounce number 3? Good.
fell,
Mm-hmm.
plus smoothly,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
and gradually
Mm-hmm.
more. Rose,
Uh-huh. Perfect.
rose is past
Rice.
rise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Como arroz.
okay.
All right. Okay, so we have if we know the verbs to say up and down, we know the words to say how quick, then we could describe any line graph. However, there is una tendencia. There's a thing that is called the overall trend. That means in the graphic, you have the beginning point and the end point, and that is your trend. And your trend is combined en español quiere decir conjugado, is combined past continuous. O sea, es conjugado en el continuo, because the trend's still happening. Es lo único de la gráfica que va en continuo es trend, because it's still happening, sigue sucediendo. This is one example. Overall trend is going down, trend is dropping, el continuo es ing, overall trend is going down, overall trend is dropping, quiere decir se está cayendo. trend is climbing up. Entonces, recuerden, todo es en past tense excepto el trend. El trend sí va en continuo, ¿va? Muy bien. These are my preferred ways to describe. So this part, I could say it gradually increased. Then for this part, I could say it rapidly rose. Rapidly rose. Over here, because it's the highest point and it never goes higher, it peaked. Then it remains stable. Puedes decir remain stable como de estable. Every time you have to say stable, you have two options. You say only stable or you say remain stable. ¿Ah? Pero el remain es como junto, con pegado, siempre va con stable. And the last one is slowly dropping. Estas son las que a mí me gustaron. Everybody has their different style, and we're going to do some exercise to see what words would you prefer to use in what situations, okay? Okay, so this is the first thing in any graph. This is a reminder, a constant reminder that you have to notice or be aware of the title and tell the title to the audience. And in this case, you have to explain the time span or the time period. This is 1 year. So if you start off by saying this is United States dollar against Sol and 1 year, then you're in a good start. And then these are some starters for the analysis that you could use. Okay. So Martin, give us what is your comment on this graph? How could you start presenting this graph to an audience?
Okay, in this graphic,
Mhm.
we see the peak of the value in the maybe in the period between March and January, maybe February.
Yeah.
We can see the peak value near to 3.9 the value of the dollar.
Mhm.
And in the period of January of June, July of
Mhm.
the last year,
Mhm.
July 2023, we can
Mhm.
see the the valley, a valley of value.
Mhm.
Um, this is the value is 3.5
Okay.
or less.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a couple of remarks so you could use them. Uh, it's not necessary to say the valley of the value. Just say valley. Valley is fine. So the valley is on September. And good job finding February here. You don't
Mhm.
have to say the peak of the value. Just say the peak.
The
That's
peak,
it.
okay.
Yeah, simple. And also, when you start explaining, uh, remember to mention always the title and the time span. Okay. Okay. Try again or whatever. I'm going to use this pointer to see where you're at to follow up your explanation, but give us a try with these new remarks that I just gave you.
Okay,
Mhm.
we see in this graph the United States dollars to sol, the type of change,
Mhm.
and in the period of maybe February and the other period of a year,
Perfect, perfect.
we can see in the period of February 2024
Mhm.
represent the peak
Mhm.
um uh, the peak, okay, of the
Mhm.
value of dollar. Okay.
Mhm.
We can see also the valley of the value or the valley is
Mhm.
in July 2023.
Okay, mucho mejor. Perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Now, here are some starters. You say what was the highest point, the peak, and you say what was the lowest point. Finish off, Martin, with telling us about the overall trend.
Okay.
Mhm. From
We
the
can see the trend is um, slowly slowly increased in the period in 2023,
uh-huh.
but
Mhm.
in the period in the period of November for January,
Mhm.
between that period, we can see a tendency is dropping.
Okay. Very good use of dropping, very good use of slowly. But remember,
Mhm.
the overall trend is the all trend, the whole trend. And
Oh, if
and
we see
remember,
the old
yeah,
trend,
yeah, the overall trend. It means the full trend. What is the invisible line that is going from the first point to the last
um,
point? What could you tell us about it?
I can see is gradually increased the
Okay,
value.
remember to use the continuous. So it's
The continuous.
gradually increasing.
Gradually increasing. Okay.
Okay,
Gradually increasing.
bien, ya quedaste, Martín. Así, ese tipo de elementos nuevos que introduces ya te ayudan mucho más a explicar este tipo de gráficas que se ven fáciles, pero hay que mencionar muchas cosas, ¿no?
Mhm.
Now your turn, Carlo. Um, you-
No.
okay, let's go step by step. Okay, by step one, and then we pause, and then step two, and then we pause. So if it's okay with you, I will suggest a pause, una pausa, okay, for each part. Okay, so just start from the beginning. Start presenting this graph to your clients. What would you say?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Okay. Okay. Uh, the graphic on the graphic we are view unit states dollars to so.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Um, the period is 1 year.
Okay,
Um,
super.
in July 2023 to July 2024.
Very good. Okay, muy bien.
And
Hasta aquí, pausa. Eh, perfecto. Usaste, yo te ayudé con el puntero.
mhm,
Dijiste periodo, pero está bien porque se dice period en inglés. Entonces
period.
saliste del atorón. Muy bien. Lo importante es, aventaste una palabra en español, pegó, qué bueno. So everything up to here, correct. Y ahora, Carlo introdujo algo que a mí se me había olvidado, pero es muy útil. Es un año, pero de julio a julio. Nunca, o sea, en la explicación de Martín, we didn't talk about what year months are we using. Entonces, bien, Carlo, bien por notar que era de julio a julio. Okay, now let's continue. You're already here. What do you want to talk about this graph?
Okay. The peak was in okay in February
Mm-hmm,
in 2024, and
mm-hmm,
the valley
mm-hmm.
was in July 2023.
Okay, perfect. And what could you tell us about the overall trend?
Okay. Um, the tended
Mm-hmm.
the
Trend.
trend the
Uh-huh.
trend uh, increase gradually.
Perfect. Remember to say is increasing ing,
Increasing
increasing gradually. Okay?
continuous path.
Exactly. Past continuous, increasing gradually because it's still happening. Okay? Okay. Let's see the next slide. And yeah, the US dollar peaked in February, the highest point. If you don't want to say peak, you could also say highest point is fine. Okay? The overall trend is gradually going up. So, este es mi estilo. Les voy a enseñar cuál es my style of explaining. Número uno, como ustedes, this is United States dollar against Peruvian sol. This is 1 year. Empiezo siempre por el overall trend. Ese es mi estilo, okay? The overall trend is gradually going up with the peak in February and the valley on July, ¿no? Entonces yo empiezo con overall trend y después sigo con peaks and valleys. Pero también en algunas ocasiones digo recent behavior, o sea, comportamiento reciente, recent behavior, it went up sharply. So the US dollar went up sharply recently. No tengo que decir ni July, ni de cuánto, ni nada, ¿vale? Recent behavior went up sharply, or sharply went up. El orden, eso es algo muy importante. El orden del speed, adjective y el behavior verb, no importa. Puedes decirlo en el orden que tú quieras, ¿va? All right. Okay, so we already did an exercise, but Martin, what is the overall trend here? What do you see?
The overall trend. What we say is the same.
Okay, the
Remain
same.
stable. I can see that the trend
Yes.
is remaining stable.
If you don't remember to say remain stable, you could only say stable, estable, and that's fine. Okay. But we already did a lot of exercise with this, so we're just going to move on. These are the new words, but many of you already know this. So I'm going to skip this one just because we already know a lot of we already did a lot of exercise and we have a lot in this presentation, so I'm just going to skip this one. But for the sake of this lesson, number one is a discussion of what is the word that comes to mind. So number one for me is highest point or peak. Number two is valley. Number three, I like smoothly go down, and etc. So this is the extra exercise for this part. Ok, vamos a tomarnos 10 minutitos y regresamos con time frames para terminar la clase con unos, ¿va? 40 minutitos más. ¿Listo? All right, so see you in a couple moments. Grab some coffee, grab something to drink, snack something, and we'll see you back in 10 minutes. All right, I'm going to stop recording. Recording.